Thank you very much and good evening. What a pleasure to welcome you all again. And I don't know about you, but I sometimes get little messages. We welcome him to give some short message. I don't know what the meaning of short is, except that I am a little short. But it's wonderful to see each of you here tonight and to talk about the importance of healthy choices. Did any of you make any changes in your choices from last night? Anybody? Nobody's changed their choices? Did anybody choose to exercise today? I think I'm going to have to give a long talk tonight, Elder Wilson. Tonight we're going to talk about exercise and what it does to make you feel better, to feel happier, to be stronger, not only should we do exercise, some of the only exercise some people get is jumping to conclusions or running other people down. You don't want to do that, do you? We need to think very carefully about our exercise and what it does for our lives. And I want you to look at this picture of Grace, who at the age of 91 was still active, still stretching, still able to do all kinds of things, lift weights, do things which, I was speaking to a young, strong man just a moment ago, and he said to me, "How do I get rid of this?" I said, "You've got to do a little bit of this." He says, "Where do I get the time?" So many people say, "I don't have the time." Grace, at the age of 40, had an accident, and it was an injury to her spine that severely incapacitated her. And as the years went by, her back pain got worse, her inability to move got worse, and the physician said to her, "Well, actually, there's not very much I can do to help you because you are too old." At that point, she was 51. She was later diagnosed with emphysema because she wasn't moving very well, wasn't breathing very deeply. She got very easily tired, and at one point she was fearing that she would never be able to climb the stairs again. The doctor offered her no hope of improvement. But Grace had a wonderful strength of willpower and decided to try and start on an exercise program offered at a local medical center. For 6 weeks, she worked out 3 times a week, 2 to 3 hours a day, and she lifted weights. She walked on the treadmill, rode the stationary bicycle, did breathing exercises, something which I'd like you to do while you're sitting right there. You're all slouching a bit into your chairs right now. You're all getting a little bit too relaxed, and you might be sleeping when Elder Ted gives his talk. So I want you to breathe in and out. Even when she was in pain and she didn't feel like doing it, even when she was busy and she said, "I didn't have time," she kept on doing it and she didn't quit. Eventually, her breathing started to improve. She was able to walk reasonable distances. Her back pain improved, and she had a lot more energy. You see, when you exercise regularly, it's like having an infusion of new energy. The doctor told her that she had had such wonderful progress that he had never seen in anybody her age. Remember, she was only 51 when she started doing all this. She attributes all of these wonderful outcomes to exercise. If there is one single intervention that you can choose if you want to live longer, if you want to live healthier, and you want to have more energy, guess which one it is? Exercise. Even more so than nutrition, exercise is the single most important factor that is going to influence your longevity and the quality of your life. Now, exercise is a form of physical activity that is planned, it's structured, and performed with the goal of improving your health and your fitness. So people say to me, well, you know, in my work, I tend to move around quite a lot and walk and so on. Is that enough? Well, if your exercise is not structured and planned and isn't aimed to improve your health, it's not going to be adequate for those purposes. So although all exercise is physical activity, not all physical activity is exercise. So I want you to remember that point. You need to be focused. You need to set aside the time to do it. You need to want it to be planned and structured so that it's going to make a difference. Studies show that people who are physically active for approximately 7 hours in a week. Now, what does that mean? How many hours a day if it's 7 hours a week? 1 hour a day, have a 40% lower risk of dying prematurely than those who are active for fewer than 30 minutes a day. So what we're seeing, it used to be said even 10 years ago, we should be exercising 30 minutes a day. Well, that was in the olden days. Now, they're talking about a minimum of 45 minutes every day, 7 days a week. It's very important to do these things. I don't see a lot of enthusiastic reception of this prescription that I'm giving you, free of charge tonight. I would like to see some more smiles saying, we're going to do this. We're going to grab hold of this advice. We're going to do it. Now, heart disease and stroke are two of the leading causes of death right now. Studies show that the significant reduction in the risk of these cardiovascular diseases is directly related to the amount of exercise that people do. Up to 1 hour a day gives tremendously improved risk factors, or improves your risk factor, decreases your risk of having cardiac disease. Another very important component of exercise, or benefit of exercise, is in helping to strengthen your bone strength and density. This is particularly important for the ladies when they get to the menopausal time period, that the bones need additional strength, but actually your bones need to be strengthened from when you are younger. So the exercise needs to start as soon as you're able to exercise. But as you exercise, bone density improves. The amount of hip fractures are significantly decreased in people who exercise on a regular basis. And then, of course, one looks around and one sees sometimes these very, very worrying pictures of syndromes, obesity, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, which have become so common in the world today. We are seeing in worldwide proportions almost an epidemic of obesity. And along with that, an increase of high blood pressure, large waistlines, and diabetes. Diabetes has gone up probably 800% in the last 10 years, type 2 diabetes. And you know, interestingly, when I graduated, which I'm going to tell you was in 1974, type 2 diabetes was called maturity onset. We never saw type 2 diabetes in anybody under the age of 55 years of age. Today, a large percentage of type 2 diabetes in the United States and in China are being seen at teenage clinics. So we see a reduction of about 40 years for this incidence of disease to take place. We're seeing all the problems related to inactivity with increased triglycerides, increased sugars, increased cholesterol, because people are allergic to movement. Overweight and obesity occur when calories are ingested through food and beverages more than the calories that we put out. It's a simple arithmetic issue. Number of calories in if they exceed the number of calories out, weight goes up. So in order to cope with that arithmetic problem, decrease the number of calories in, increase the amount of calories out, and what happens to the weight? It goes down. So exercise is hugely important, and within the weight, research is showing that within the space of 1 year, it's possible to achieve weight stability through 2.5 to 5 hours a week of exercise. And I can testify to that. You know, I have on my belt a little conscience. That conscience is my pedometer. It's a Fitbit. And it counts the number of steps I do every day. It even counts the number of flights that I climb every day. And at the end of each day, I have to look at it because it syncs to my smartphone and tells me how many steps I've done or I haven't done, how many flights of stairs I've taken. It tells me my weight, which some days I'm quite happy to see and other days I wish I didn't. But what it does, it gives me accountability. And that exercise on a regular basis helps stabilize the weight loss as it occurs. Again, pointing out the importance of exercise. The health benefits of physical activity far outweigh the possible negative effects. Now, some people say, well, I'm scared to exercise in case I hurt myself. Well, it's very important for individuals to consult with their healthcare providers to make sure that they are in a good enough state to take the exercise they need to take. But if you want to postpone your funeral, what should you be doing? Exercise how often? Regularly. I'm glad you're all waking up. It makes me feel better. The activity must be within your ability. It should be safe, and so you can continue to do it on a daily basis. Exercise is generally grouped into 3 various types and have different effects on the body. There are the flexibility exercises, which help us, and we get that by stretching. They keep us supple. We're able to do the movements we need to do, place our arms right behind our backs if we need to. Aerobic, which is the kind of the walking, the running, and swimming. And then we get the resistance exercises. Those are the exercises which build muscle and also increase the bone strength. Weight bearing is very important. Those weights are important to do because there's another very important component to exercise. That individuals who go into surgery with a decent muscle strength and reasonable fitness do much better than those who don't. Now, I want you for a moment to take yourselves and contemplate how it would be if you were to break your leg. We don't want you to do it, but if it were to happen, you would then need to use crutches. You would need to lift yourself onto them. You would need to use your arm strength to help you to be mobile. You would need to use your arm strength to help you to maybe move the wheelchair. And if your arms are not strong and the other leg is not strong, your recovery is going to be significantly delayed. I'm just trying to illustrate to you the importance of muscle strength and fitness on the quality of life. So the amount of weekly exercise that's needed can be divided into a number of levels of physical activity. Firstly, you have those who are basically inactive. Sorry, I'm just having a little... So no additional activity is taking place above what is needed for daily bodily care and living. This is running ahead of me. 2 is reasonably active. 3 is people who are doing about 30 minutes a day. And 4, the 4th level, are those who are extremely active. That is highly active, the man riding the bicycle. These various categories provide a rule of thumb for how the total amount of physical activity is related to the health benefits. If you're doing no exercise, how much health benefit are you going to get? Nothing. If you do a little more than that, you may get something. As you get to the moderate, you're really coming into the area where you're going to get health benefits. When you get into the really competitive sport, you get even more benefit, but you also run into the issue of more injuries and possibilities. The high amounts provide the greatest benefit, but if you haven't been exercising regularly, don't jump from a no or a low exercise to a very high level of exercise. The most common injuries that people get from exercising involves the bones, the joints, the muscles, and the ligaments. There are other problems like overheating and dehydration, but that can be cared for by wearing the correct clothing and, of course, drinking the appropriate fluids. But the scientific evidence gives us some really very good news, that appropriate activity is safe for almost anyone, even most likely for you and for me. And the health benefits far outweigh the risks. Whenever we do something, we want to be sure that we are getting the absolutely best benefit versus having the minimum amount of risks. And I can assure you that if you have been checked, that you don't have any physical impediment which could be dangerous for you to exercise, health benefits for physical activity far outweigh the risks. And again, I'd just like to emphasize that you should accumulate at least 2.5 hours of exercise every week. And the very best exercise that you could do is walking. Walk on a regular basis. Dr. Kenneth Cooper showed this when he did the aerobics, started the aerobics exercise for the Canadian Air Force. It was shown to be so valuable that it became the kind of exercise that has been shown to have the best benefits applied in every aspect of anyone's life. Walking, jogging, good aerobic exercise. Interestingly, more than 150 years ago, Ellen White wrote a very interesting comment. She wrote, "Walking in all cases where it is possible is the best exercise because in walking, all the muscles are brought into action." So if you're sitting contemplating what kind of exercise should you do, walking is one that you can do for years and years and years. It costs you a little bit in your shoes, but it's worthwhile doing it. Focus on the kind of clothes that you wear when you exercise. Wear lightweight, appropriate clothing to the climatic conditions. They should be brightly colored so that you don't get knocked over by some of the dangerous drivers that are around every city in the world. Now, of course, this is something that you only have to, when you're in the Philippines, worry about the cold weather when you go up to Baguio for your summer vacation. Then you've got to be careful of the cold when it gets down to about 32 degrees centigrade. But generally, if you're living in this kind of environment, you have to look out for overheating, not for the cold. Wear protective gear if you are doing any kind of exercise which may require it, riding a bicycle, doing skateboarding and so on. Wear the helmet, wear the appropriate knee guards, because that's the sensible thing to do. Your feet bear the weight of your entire body, so make sure that you have good fitting, comfortable exercise shoes so that you can give yourself the best advantage of having as little injury as possible. Just as regular aerobic exercise helps us to live better. And what I said to you right in the beginning, I want to repeat. If there is one single intervention of physical lifestyle behavior that's going to improve your quality and length of life, it's exercise. Just as much as exercising your body makes a difference to your life, so it is with exercising your faith. We can trust God to lead our lives according to his loving prescription for health. He gives power to the weak and to those who have no might. He increases strength. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. What a wonderful promise. What a wonderful blessing to know that we can run and not grow weary. We can walk and not faint. Not only physically, but spiritually. We have an amazing, wonderful God who has created us in a marvelous way and given us tremendous options and abilities so that we can have quality of life, not only for our life on earth, but so that we can spend eternity with him as well. God bless you as you review your choices, as you take the decision tonight to exercise daily and to take these health tips to heart, because your heart will benefit. God bless you.